There's a bottle sitting in your pantry right now, or it should be, that the American cleaning industry has spent the last 70 years trying to make you forget. It costs about $3. It weighs a gallon. And according to research that was quietly buried before most of us were born, it can replace nearly every single cleaning product stacked under your kitchen sink. What if I told you that a community of people living without electricity, without smartphones, without any of the conveniences we think we can't live without? What if I told you that these same people have been sitting on 21 household secrets so effective that scientists are now calling them genius? Not folk wisdom, not old wives' tales. Genius. That word matters. Because what you're about to hear isn't just about cleaning your windows or unclogging your drain. It's about a system of knowledge that was deliberately pushed to the margins, defunded, buried, and replaced. Not because it stopped working, but because it worked too well. Let me take you back to 1958. Pennsylvania State University published an agricultural extension bulletin. It was a modest document. No flashy graphics, no celebrity endorsements, just practical research-backed household guidance for American families. That bulletin listed 21 specific uses for plain white distilled vinegar. 21. And for a brief window in history, this information was actively being shared with the American public through the homemaker education programs that rural families depended on. Then something changed. By the early 1970s, those programs were quietly defunded. The bulletin stopped being circulated. The knowledge didn't vanish, it just stopped being taught. And right around the same time that happened, major chemical corporations began flowing significant funding into university agricultural departments. Coincidence? You can decide that for yourself. But here's what isn't a coincidence. The American cleaning product industry grew from roughly $200 million in 1950 to over $40 billion by 2020. That growth didn't happen because homes got dramatically dirtier. It happened because an entire nation was systematically convinced that one humble ancient substance couldn't possibly do the job of 15 specialized products. The Amish never bought that story. While the rest of America was filling up cart after cart at the supermarket, loading up on neon-colored bottles with complicated ingredient labels and synthetic fragrances, and the Amish communities of Lancaster County and Holmes County, Ohio, were doing exactly what they had always done. They kept the vinegar. They kept the knowledge. And here, right now, at this channel, Secret Vault, we dug it back up. Now, before we get into all 21 uses, there's something critical you need to know because most people make this mistake the moment they walk into the store. When you go looking for white vinegar on the grocery shelf, you'll see two versions sitting right next to each other. One is standard distilled white vinegar at 5% acidity. The other is sometimes labeled cleaning vinegar, and it comes in at 6%. Here's what the label won't tell you. For household cleaning purposes, the 5% is actually what you want. That single percentage point difference sounds trivial, but it changes the concentration of the solution more significantly than you'd think. The 6% costs more and is stronger than necessary for the vast majority of home uses. A single 5-gallon jug of 5% distilled white vinegar, according to families who have been using it for generations, can last an entire household a full calendar year. One jug, 12 months, for a family of 7. Think about what you're currently spending versus that number and let it sit for a moment. Let's start with windows, because this is the one that converts skeptics faster than anything else. Fill a spray bottle with equal parts white vinegar and water, then add exactly 1 teaspoon of plain dish soap. That teaspoon is the secret step most people miss. It's what cuts through the greasy film that accumulates on kitchen windows from cooking vapors. Without it, the vinegar will streak. With it, you get 1 clean pass. But here's where it gets interesting. Don't reach for the paper towels. Grab an old newspaper instead. The fibers in newsprint are tighter and shorter than paper towel fibers, and they don't leave lint behind. This technique has been used in Amish communities for well over a century, and the result is glass so clear it looks like the paint isn't even there. The total cost of this solution compared to commercial window spray? Roughly 90% less. 90. Now picture this. You're standing at your stainless steel kitchen sink. Over time, it develops that dull, scratched-looking film that no dish soap seems to fix. Pour undiluted white vinegar directly onto a soft cloth and scrub in the direction of the grain. Always with the grain, never cross it. Then dry with a clean cloth immediately after. The sink returns to the way it looked the day it was installed. That's the second use, and it costs pennies. The third use is your refrigerator interior, one of the most bacteria-laden surfaces in the average American kitchen and one of the least properly cleaned. 50% vinegar, 50% water in a spray bottle. Hit every shelf, every drawer, every door panel. Wipe down with a clean rag. The smell of vinegar is completely gone within 20 minutes, and what's left behind is a refrigerator interior that doesn't just look clean, but actively inhibits. The mold spore is responsible for that musty, stale refrigerator odor that most families have come to accept as unavoidable. Let me be clear about something. The smell is not normal. It is the smell of bacterial colonies taking hold on your food storage surfaces. Vinegar kills them at the root. To understand why vinegar works at this level, you have to go much further back than the 1950s. Acetic acid, the active component in white vinegar, is one of the oldest documented antimicrobial substances in human history. The Babylonians used it. The Romans used it as both a preservative and a disinfectant. American colonists relied on it as a household staple. When Amish settlers arrived in Pennsylvania in the early 1700s, they brought with them a European tradition of household management in which vinegar was considered as essential as water itself. What changed over the following 2.5 centuries wasn't the effectiveness of vinegar. What changed was the marketing machine that arose to replace it. In 1947, a major consumer goods corporation launched a national advertising campaign built around a single transformative idea that you needed specialized cleaners for specialized surfaces. Before that campaign, the average American home ran on 3 cleaning agents: soap, baking soda, and vinegar. By 1965, that same average kitchen contained between 12 and 15 different products, each one engineered to solve a specific problem and to create a specific dependency. That was the trick. Not one trick pulled once, but a decades-long, billion-dollar campaign to make you forget that simplicity had always been enough. The fourth use will save you from what most people assume is an appliance replacement problem. 1 cup of white vinegar placed in a container on the top rack of your dishwasher. No detergent, run a full cycle. This dissolves the mineral buildup that causes your dishwasher to leave that cloudy, hazy residue on your glasses after a few years of use. Most homeowners see that cloudiness, assume the dishwasher is dying, and spend hundreds replacing it. 1 cup of vinegar. That's the fix. The 5th use is your washing machine. Run a hot water cycle with 2 cups of vinegar and no clothes or detergent once every 3 months. This eliminates the soap scum buildup responsible for that mildew smell in front-loading washers. A smell that has driven millions of American homeowners to forums, repair shops, and appliance stores searching for answers. The answer has always been 2 cups of a $3 liquid. Here's where it starts to cost the cleaning industry real money. The 6th use is as a fabric softener replacement. Half a cup of white vinegar in the fabric softener compartment of your washing machine. Your clothes come out softer than with any commercial product. Static is eliminated, and here is the part that sounds impossible until you experience it. There's no vinegar smell on your clean laundry, none. The acetic acid neutralizes completely during the rinse cycle. What remains is fabric that has been stripped of the detergent residue that's actually causing the stiffness most people blame on hard water. Fabric softener as a commercial product was introduced by Procter & Gamble in 1957. The Amish have spent the exact same amount of time since then getting softer laundry for $3 a gallon. The 7th use is your electric kettle. Fill it with straight white vinegar, bring it to a boil, dump it, and rinse. The mineral scale that's been slowly calcifying your kettle's heating element for years comes off in a single boil. The 8th use is your coffee maker. Run a full brew cycle with white vinegar in the water reservoir, then run 2 full cycles of plain water to rinse. Do this once a month. The coffee will taste noticeably cleaner, and the machine will outlast the manufacturer's expectations by a significant margin. Coffee makers fail primarily because of mineral scale buildup in the internal heating components. Vinegar dissolves it before it can accumulate to a damaging level. The 9th use is something plumbers charge serious money to address: slow drains. Pour half a cup of baking soda down the drain first, then follow it immediately with 2 cups of boiling hot white vinegar. Cover the drain opening with a towel to trap the resulting foam inside the pipe where it can do its work. Wait 10 minutes. Flush with hot water for 2 minutes. Drains that have been sluggish for years will run clear. The 10th use is weed elimination in hard surfaces, the cracks in your driveway, between patio stones, along fences. Pure, undiluted white vinegar sprayed directly on the unwanted growth. Within 48 hours, they're dead. No herbicides, no chemicals, no gloves required. The 11th use is something every parent with young children needs to know about. Ink marks on walls and wooden desks, the kind that seem absolutely permanent and that have caused more than one person to repaint. An entire room. Lift completely off the surface with a cloth dampened in full-strength vinegar. Marks that have been there for years. Gone. The 12th use is removing chewing gum from carpet, upholstery, or even hair. Pour vinegar directly on the gum. Give it 2 minutes to break down the adhesive structure of the gum. It peels away cleanly. The 13th use is sticker and label residue on glass jars, plastic containers, and shelving. Soak in vinegar, wipe clean. No scraping, no scratching, no residue left behind. The 14th use is one that has significant health implications that the produce industry would rather not discuss in detail. Cleaning your fruits and vegetables. Mix 25% white vinegar with 75% water in a spray bottle. Spray your produce before rinsing. Research from the British Columbia Institute of Technology found that undiluted vinegar produced a statistically significant reduction in E. coli on cutting board surfaces, with results so consistent that the findings crossed the threshold of research. Great evidence, not folklore. That's what you're dealing with when you spray your groceries down with nothing but plain water at your kitchen sink. You're leaving behind pesticide residue and surface bacteria that vinegar eliminates in seconds. The 15th use is the one that has cost some American homeowners thousands of dollars they never needed to spend. Mold. Here's what happens when you don't know this. Bleach is what every contractor and every remediation company will sell you as the solution to household mold. And bleach does kill surface mold, visibly and immediately. But bleach is a water-based solution. It cannot penetrate porous materials like concrete, drywall, or grout. It kills what it touches and leaves the root structure of the mold colony completely intact, buried inside the material itself, which is why the mold comes back every single time, within months, sometimes weeks. Vinegar, because it is an acid, soaks into porous surfaces. It reaches the root system of the mold colony and kills it there, not just the visible surface, but the biological network that feeds it and causes it to return. Spray undiluted white vinegar onto visible mold. Let it sit for 1 full hour. Wipe it down. The science on this is not controversial. It's simply not profitable for the contractors who charge over $1,000 per treatment to share it with you. The 16th use is grout restoration. Pour vinegar directly onto grout lines. Let it sit for 15 minutes. Scrub with an old toothbrush. Watch the original color come back. The 17th use is your toilet bowl, specifically the hard water rings and mineral deposits that seem to embed themselves permanently into the porcelain. Pour 2 cups of white vinegar into the bowl at night before bed. Let it sit overnight. In the morning, 1 scrub with the brush and 1 flush removes deposits that have been building for years. The 18th use is your shower head. Take a plastic bag, fill it with white vinegar, and secure it around the shower head so the head is fully submerged. Leave it for 8 hours. Overnight is ideal. In the morning, remove the bag and run the water. The pressure comes back completely. Plumbers charge between $80 and $200 to replace a shower head for exactly this problem. The vinegar fix costs cents and takes 30 seconds to set up. The 19th use is the rubber gasket on your front-loading washing machine door. The black mold ring that develops around the seal and produces a smell that no amount of laundry detergent can cover up. Wipe it down with full-strength white vinegar once a week. The mold disappears, and, as long as you maintain the weekly wipe, does not return. The 20th use is your microwave interior. Place a cup of water mixed with 2 tablespoons of vinegar inside and run it on high for 3 minutes. The steam generated by the solution loosens every piece of dried, splattered food on the interior walls and ceiling. 1 wipe with a single paper towel and the entire interior is clean. No scrubbing, no soaking, no commercial microwave cleaner with its synthetic fragrance and plastic bottle adding to the landfill. Now, the 21st use. This is the one that almost nobody outside of traditional Amish communities has ever come across, and it's the one that changed the entire picture for researchers who studied that original Penn State Bulletin. Hidden in that 1958 extension document was a reference to a practice common among plain communities for protecting wooden furniture and finished hardwood floors from long-term moisture and age damage. The document called it a vinegar oil treatment. The formula is 3 parts olive oil to 1 part white vinegar. Shake it in a glass jar until the 2 liquids emulsify. Apply it with a soft cloth to wood surfaces, working always in the direction of the grain. What this mixture accomplishes is something the modern furniture polish industry was built specifically to prevent you from knowing. The vinegar component cuts through existing wax, buildup, and grime, lifting it away from the wood. Simultaneously, the olive oil penetrates deep into the wood grain, nourishing the fibers and sealing the surface from within. Commercial furniture polishes are designed to do one or the other. They clean or they condition, never both. Because if they did both in a single product, you would only need to buy 1 bottle instead of 2. And that business model collapses overnight. Amish craftsmen have been applying this exact 3-to-1 ratio to wooden tables, chairs, hutches, and floors for generations. There is furniture in Amish homes older than the United States itself that still looks the way it did the day it was built. That is not an accident. That is this treatment applied with consistency and care across generations. What the defunding of that Penn State Bulletin represented, and this is the part that matters beyond vinegar, was the quiet suppression of low-cost, high-effectiveness knowledge at the precise moment commercial interests needed that knowledge to disappear. The homemaker education programs that circulated this information were defunded just as chemical. Companies began providing significant research funding to the universities that ran those programs. The information didn't get disproven. It didn't get outdated. It simply stopped being distributed. And in the absence of that distribution, billions of dollars of product sales rushed in to fill the knowledge gap. The Amish didn't resist this as some act of philosophical rebellion. They didn't protest. They didn't write letters. They just kept doing what worked in communities where television advertising never reached them and magazine culture never penetrated. They were, without ever intending to be, the living archive of a knowledge system that the rest of America slowly allowed to be replaced. That's what channels like Secret Vault exist to dig back up, not to romanticize the past or to pretend that nothing about modern life represents genuine progress, but to recover the specific, practical, research-backed knowledge that was deliberately sidelined because it was too useful, too cheap, and too simple to be profitable. Here's the truth, stripped of any mysticism. Vinegar is not a miracle. It is simply an old, inexpensive acid that human civilization has been using for over 10,000 years across dozens of cultures and dozens of applications. The Babylonians used it. The Romans used it. Your great-grandmother used it. The miracle, if you want to call it that, is not the substance itself. The miracle is the magnitude of the con, the sheer scale of the cultural engineering required to convince an entire modern nation to forget a 10,000-year-old tool and replace it with $40 billion worth of specialized, petroleum-derived, single-purpose products. That took 70 years of advertising, billions of dollars in marketing spend, the systematic defunding of educational programs that taught self-sufficiency, and the gradual erosion of the generational knowledge transfer that used to happen naturally at kitchen tables across the country. The families in Holmes County and Lancaster County never sat down at those kitchen tables and decided to be contrarians. They just never stopped passing down what they knew. One generation taught the next, though knowledge survived because the community that held it had no mechanism for forgetting it. No television to tell them a new product was better, no magazine subscription to introduce them to a specialized cleaner for every conceivable surface. They just kept using what worked, and now that knowledge is here. All 21 uses, documented and explained, drawn from the same source that an entire industry worked quietly for decades to push out of circulation. Start this weekend, buy 1 gallon of 5% distilled white vinegar, try the window method with newspaper, run the dishwasher cycle, leave the plastic bag on the shower head overnight, do 3 things, watch what happens, and then, because this is how this kind of knowledge has always survived, not through advertising but through neighbors, tell someone. That's all it takes. You just have to turn around and find what was sitting there the whole time, right where it always was, waiting for you to remember it.